Doe het goed.
Okay, thank you. You have a new engineer. Anyone you can supervise on the picture from your place. Okay, so now we go to the other paragraph.
Place and time.
Space and time. Okay, brother and sisters.
Enrico. Brothers and sisters, and Enrico.
Okay. So, you know, here, a place, you remember when you studied the categories? Where? Huh?
Where?
Where and time? When. So we study quality, quantity, and we study now place and time.
Categories of what? Sorry.
The category of being.
Okay.
And when we study being, we study that there is 10 divisions of being. Okay. Okay, so the infinity associated with the notion, with motion, is not an actual infinity. In fact, infinity is only theoretically. When we speak about time and space and motion. So we speak about a potential infinity. A potential infinity. That means it's not an actual infinity. When we speak about God, we speak about actual infinity. For God, infinity is a perfection. But for us, infinity is an indetermination, you know. It's the different there. Anyway, we will come back when we study philosophy of God. So that means it is in potential to be measured, to be determined. So any motion can be measured, can be determined when it is, of course, a material reality, when the being in potency is a material reality. And that being in potency occupies some place in the world, and is also in time. So that is the subject. First we study what is place, where is living, where is that being existing, and secondly, when, at what time. So the notion of place or space and the notion of time. So let us begin by the first notion of place. In fact, it is the place where a body is. A place where a body is. When we speak about place, there is no place if there is no body. There is no place if there is no body. We cannot speak about place. We speak about place when there is some material reality, some body. Okay. So Aristotle gives two definitions of place. Two definitions. The first, he said, the innermost motionless boundary of what contents. Motionless, that means without moving. So the limit of a body that is not moving. For example, each of us, now we occupy a place, no? Because we are, you see, it is what it is like. If you want, the place is like a volume. We have a volume, and that volume is where we are. So that is the first notion of place. In that notion of Aristotle, it is in fact without motion. That means a being outside of any motion, a material being, of course, occupies a place, occupies a volume. Or in other words, the first and immobile superficies, the superficies of an ambient body. What is that? The superficie, the volume, it is the volume. If you have a... So the volume occupied by, for this chalk here, there is a place. There is a place for that. Every material reality occupies a place. In that place, in fact, it is a volume. That's the first notion of Aristotle. Okay, first notion of place. Or if you want, it is a kind of container, a box. And my body, any body is a container. It contains some matter. Okay, the volume. Distinct and separable from the thing contained. So I can consider in every material body the envelope, if you want, independently of the content. The envelope. We call that in mathematics the volume. The volume. The volume occupied. Suppose you dive into the water in the pool. Your body will occupy a space, a place in the water. That is the place. In fact, we consider the envelope of the body, the volume of the body. But the second definition, everybody surrounded by other is in place. And it is what makes local motion or change of place possibility. So if I look now, when I am in place, other also are in place. And from that other, I can see the place I occupy. In fact, I can know the place a thing take the volume of a thing in relation with the volume of other thing. That is the second definition. We'll see that soon. So this is what makes the local. Okay, the universe as a whole, not being in place, cannot move locally. So if we can consider not only the volume of the thing, the body itself, but that volume, that place in relation with other reality. For example, here, I am here, but there is other volume, other bodies, you know. That is also, I have a place in relation with others. I have a place in the universe. So the place can consider as the volume occupied by the body itself, or become considered also in relation in the whole universe, or the whole class, or the whole. A remark here. The definition of Aristotle applies only to bodies at rest, the first definition, beside that. Because motionless without moving. But there are cases where enveloping bodies are mobile. For example, fluid. When your volume is in a river, and what is around you is fluid, is moving, like the air or the water, etc. In this case, place is not more marked out. So Aristotle was aware of the difficulty. His definition was strong, as they say here, substantialistic. I mean, the first definition was about the substance of the body, of you. But it's not sufficient. He realized that definition is not adequate. So he gave another definition. He says, place has to be defined by markers. Place has to be defined by markers, which have to be fixed and non-contiguous. So a place must be defined by a marker, and those markers have to be fixed and non-contiguous. They must be at many places. For example, suppose you are here. You are here. Okay? And there is here a church. Here there is a school. A school. Here there is an hospital. Here there is a playground, etc. Houses, etc. So they are markers.
That's animal.
So I can situate myself with markers, with other beings. I have a place among them. You know? You are in a boat, on the river. You are on the boat here, and you have marker. It can be houses, it can be a church, it can be etc. So we situate our place in relation with other being. But those beings must be fixed. Otherwise, I cannot, if they are moving all the time, I cannot, for example, situate my place in regard of people who are walking or running. I have to find some thing that are immobile, that are stable, and from that I can see where I can situate myself. That is the second definition of Aristotle. I think is more conform. So he proposes that, he says, place has to be defined by markers which are to be fixed and non-contiguous, that means not touch one another. There must be a certain distance about them, you know. Thus we can consider place essentially as a ratio, a relation between things. Thus the superficies adjacent to the body will be used to determine the place of the body, but will not be constitute it properly. I mean, my body here is, I can fix its place in regard with the other reality. In fact, when you want to know the situation of a thing, you have to have some marker. Can be the star. For example, the sailor, when they went to the ocean, they have to a sextant, and they calculate the position of the star and the compass. So they have some marker to find their way. Some marker, okay? So that is the meaning here. So thus we consider, okay. And now, next definition. The paragraph next is the strict definition. Place is an immobile recipient. Immobile recipient, a volume. But as a system of ratio is no more a recipient. That is the first definition. The first definition of Aristotle was a dumbbell is a recipient. But it's true, but it is more than that. It is a system of ratios between an individual body and other bodies taken as marker. In fact, the place of a thing is in relation. For example, the camcorder here in the class has a place. And that place is in relation with some, for example, from distance from me, from the board, from the wall. We can add some marker and find the place where it is. If you go to Google Earth, you know Google Earth?
Oh, yeah.
You look at the bottom of Google Earth. When you search, for example, Holy Apostle College and Seminary on 33 Prospect here. If you look at the bottom here, you have the coordinate. They will say such a degree from north, some degree east-west, you know? The coordinate of Descartes, that invention of Descartes. Submarine, the plane, they use that. That is, in fact, gives you the place where you are. You know exactly how many degrees you are from Greenwich in England, how many degrees you are north of the equator, you know? So you can situate yourself. Of course, it's not necessary, but one in the air, in the ocean, on the ship, it is important to be able to know how you can situate yourself, how you can place. And to place yourself, you have to find some marker. So that is the second definition of space, of place. The first is the volume itself of the thing. The second is that volume in regard with other markers that are fixed. So you can situate, you can say GPS. It is a GPS, exactly that. The GPS indicates you the place where you are going to, etc. Okay? You have to go there. I go page 136. Now the various significations of place. Bon, we saw the common place and the nearest container. That's the first definition of Aristotle. The volume of my body. And the second, the proper place, it is the second definition. It is in relation with other. I will not insist on that. But at the bottom of page 136, there is something very important. When you study quantity, one of the characteristics of quantity is impenetrability. That means matter, quantify matter. Quantify matter is impenetrable. What is the meaning of that? That means two material reality cannot take exactly the same space, the same place. If they are solid, one will exclude the other, no? Can you sit two persons like Enrico and David on the same chair?
No.
No. I think, see, either one or the other. Incompenetrability. So, someone will say, oh, Father, it's not true because there is a case where we can put together things. For example, we can put gas. You know, I suppose I have a container here. And I put in the container 1 liter of oxygen.
Oh.
1 liter of oxygen, a normal pressure. I say, oh, I will put 2. So I put, with a pump, I put another liter. Oh, Father, the same volume. Why? But what will happen?
The pressure.
The pressure will double. The pressure will double. In fact, the atoms inside will not occupy the same place. They will push one another. It is exactly what happened in your tire. Huh? You put
Air.
many, and the tire, they push one another, you know. So that is to confirm that matter, quantity, two things, material, quantified matter, cannot occupy the same place. The same place cannot, only one, not two. That is, it is a fact. We cannot have two material things exactly at the same place. Occupy exactly the same volume, having the same coordinates. Okay? And now that leads us to the concept very close to space and to place is the concept of space. We speak about space and time. For example, Kant speak about space and time, and most of the time we don't speak about place and time, we speak about space and time. Okay, so what is place? In fact, the concept of space is related to the concept of place. Because if there is no place, there is no space. Why? Because the place is delimited by a material being. So if there is no material being, there is no space. Space depends on the existence of material being. Before material being exists, before the creation of the world, was there any space?
No.
No. Space
Was no time, no space.
as a positive concept, is related to the existence of material being.
In the beginning was no time, no space.
Exactly. If there is no material being, there is no time and no space. Because space is constituted by material reality. Okay? So in this physical sense, space refers to the fundamental dimensional of quantity. Quantity at least has 2 or 3 dimensions. 2 dimensions when it is about line, quantity, it's a quantity, or surface, or a volume. So that a quantity is is really, it is a dimension, space is related to dimensional quantity. That means there must be quantity. But there is no quantity if there is no material body. If there is no stone, if there is no sand, if there is no air, there is no water, we cannot speak about space. If there is nothing, there is no space. So space is related with quantity. And quantity as a being is three-dimensional, 3D. Because a volume is made with line, with surface, but in fact it is a surface and line that make a volume. So any material reality has a volume, has a place. Because every material reality has a place, we can after that speak about space. Because space is it comes from the fundamental dimensional quantity. A quantity, quantified being, matter, is necessarily three-dimensional. Of course, I can have a triangle on a plank of wood. In fact, the plank of wood, it is a volume, because the plank is a volume, no? A volume, Okay, I continue. So Father Wollner gave a definition. He says, it is a three-dimensional extension conceived as an abstracted from bodies and serving as a receptacle for bodies. As a receptacle for bodies. First, it is made with bodies. It is made with things occupy a volume. But in that space, there is more than one body. There are many bodies. And those many bodies are in fact creating space. Space depends on the bodies. And now you have a proof of that today. We know that the universe is expanding. The universe is expanding. That means the space is expanding. Space is expanding because the universe is expanding. That means because the quantified matter is going farther and farther. Because of that, the space is becoming farther, bigger and bigger, larger and larger. So space, in fact, exists because they are material beings. Material beings, in fact, are the constituent of space. And those material beings occupy places, and if you look at those places in the universe, then you obtain a kind of space. In fact, space in itself is not a reality. Space exists in your mind. The reality is not space. The reality are the bodies that constitute the space. No? If there is no body, will be any space?
No.
No. So the space is occupied, is created, is a relation between bodies. Well, suppose I have 4 persons. I put them here. I say each one walk exactly in front of you. What will happen? One will be here, the other here, the other here, the other. What happened? Space will. No? So the space is the relation between quantified matter, bodies. It's not a reality in itself. I cannot cut the space in pieces. When I cut the space in pieces, I do that in my mind. Descartes, when Descartes divides the universe in x and y, or the contrary, that is mathematical. The reality is not the same. No? So that is the concept of space is not a concept. It is a concept, the fruit of the relation between things. We say they send, for example, they say American or Russian send men in space. Now they are going in space. In fact, what does the mean of that? That means they send men between being already existing. Because when they are going to Saturn, they are going to Pluto, they are going to eventually to some stars, and they go in the space because there is something. If there was anything, there would be no space. In fact, space exists because material reality exists, like place, the same thing. So it's a concept. You have the absolute space, the sum of real and possible space considered as one space. We can say space is illimited, but in fact, the concept of space for us is limited. It is limited where there is matter. If matter is expanding, of course, space is expanding. But on the other side of space, there is no space. Or there is space in regard of what exists here. You understand, huh? In fact, we say the world is expanding into the space. No, the world is creating the space. By its extension, it created the space. So the space is what exists on the place, the volume, if you want, existing between all the material reality. That is space. I continue to imagine real space, the space actually occupied by the three-dimensional bodies, the container. We can consider the space as a container of real material body. Real material body. It can be the star, it can be the sun, it can be planet, it can be man, etc. So it is a distance various between the ratio of the dimension of the universe with all the bodies contained. So the concept of space is linked with the existence of material reality. So that brings us to a question. Is void a reality?
No.
No. Void can be only relative. We cannot, theoretically, void is a purely empty three-dimensional space. But can we think about a space without nothing? A space without nothing will not be a space. It will be the absolute void. If there is nothing, there is no void, because void is known through being. So we have a relative void. We don't have an absolute void. Materially speaking. Now, but before the creation of the world, that was nothing. And God created thing. When He created thing, He created the space. And time also, we see that soon. Okay? So with Descartes, what can think that an absolute void is contradictory? Why? Because such a void, an absolute void, will be only a non-being existing. Can a non-being, because what is void? It is absence of thing. Can absence of thing be a being?
No.
So absolute being is a pure concept, reasoning. If I say existed a pure being, the void is absence. There must be being somewhere. If there is being somewhere, there is no absolute void. So in fact, we are on presence of the relative void. We speak, in fact, now about void in relation with existence of being. Absence of being among being already existing. Okay? So physical vacuum is a relative void. For example, when we rarefy the air, when we rarefy the air, the barometer is going down, that is only a relative void. Relative void. Well, that is not very complicated. So space, place is the it is the first my volume according to Aristotle, but it is the place occupied in relation with markers. Okay, that is not difficult. I am here. I can distinguish 5 kilometers from there, 2 kilometers, and if I go there, I am exactly what I want to do. GPS is based on that. Now, we have to study something very interesting, in my opinion. It is time. St. Augustine insisted a lot on time, the experience of time. I think it's a good reflection, because that reflection touches also another dimension we call eternity. In fact, we know eternity by comparison with time. And time is a reality in our life, very important reality. So I think it's valuable to spend 1 hour on that subject. Well, we can distinguish two kinds of time. We have time as a duration, and we have time as an abstract concept. You go to the dentist. You wait 10 minutes in the dentist. 10 minutes you wait. What will happen? 10 minutes is very long.
Long time.
Very long.
But when we are doing our homework, it's
Very short. A class of philosophy is very short, no?
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Depend. Depend. Sometimes 10 minutes for one is long, 10 minutes for the other is very short. You spend 1 hour in front of television for a soccer game, football game.
Oh, that's 5 minutes.
You don't see time. You sit 10 minutes in your parish listening to the homily of your pastor. It's long, it depends on the pastor, of course. I don't want to generalize. You understand? That is duration. It is the time we live. The time we live. And the philosopher who was on the first to express that in a systematic way is Henri Bergson, a Jew French. Henri Bergson wrote his thesis on that subject. The time as duration. Okay, maybe that seems to you not important, but it is very important. Why? Because before at Bergson, 1940, 1955, the philosophy predominating almost the whole universe was positivism. Positivism was a philosophy affirming that we can explain everything through our reason. And what we cannot explain does not exist. So they exclude mystery. In fact, it was in the line of rationalism. We can explain everything through our reason. But it was applied especially to science. Even today, many scientists are positivists. They cannot accept, for example, that a scientist can believe in God, can be a philosopher. So, Bergson, when he reflected on the dimension of duration, he gives the proof that we cannot reduce time only to something objective. Time cannot be reduced only to my watch. Time has a dimension that escapes our control, our measure. And that is a fact. Everybody will accept that sometimes time is very short and sometimes time is very long. And but at the point of view of objective time, it can be the same, 10 minutes, very long, very short. Okay? When he affirmed that, when he proved that, he was destroying positivism. Because positivism pretended that we can explain everything through reason, through science. For example, can you explain an act of freedom? You can try to explain it. Can you give a real explanation? No. Because if we can, there is no more freedom. It is determinism. Because their teaching that was determinism. Everything is determined. Everything is able to be known through science. Every fact can be analyzed as a scientific, factual, clear. But love, for example, is a fact, no? Mm-hmm. Can we measure love? Can we measure freedom? So time was the, in fact, Mr. Henri Bergson was, I can say, the first who had the courage to face positivism, to destroy positivism in the 30s, 40s. Okay? And that is the reason why I say to you, duration is important because of that, for me. Because if you have some facts in your life, they are really facts, but you cannot explain that scientifically. That means not everything can be studied by science, and something escapes the control, domination of science. Okay, come back to the text now. So it is time as concrete or lived. The time you live in your flesh, in your body. We call that also subjective time. The time of the subject. Subjective time. The time you live in yourself, the time of the I. Not the time of your watch, the time of what you are. The time we live by you. So this time can be more or less fast, depending on the rapidity or slowness lived or experienced by that being. For example, while sleeping, time almost disappears. You look at a beautiful movie, you like that, you don't see time. You talk with some friend, suddenly you say, hey, that happened many times for me when I prepare my class. I don't realize that it's time to go to the refectory or to go to another thing. I am outside of time. I am in duration. Okay. So in other times, when activity is intense, time, on the contrary, seems going faster. 20 minutes entering dentist's office is much longer than 20 minutes watching a football game, okay, etc. So one calls that kind of time subjective or psychological. Subjective or psychological time. The time lived by my psyche, my soul, my mind. And that time is not the same as the time of my watch. Okay. In fact, duration, I quote here Jolivet. Duration is persistence or permanence in existence. That is continued existence. Therefore, duration includes two things. Existence and continuation. But to assure that continuation, I must be aware of that. And that requires memory. I cannot assure that continuation if I lose my memory of what I was before. Huh? So duration is permanence in being. In fact, we say it is heterogeneous. Huh? Heterogeneous. Neos. You know, that means not all the instants are equal. Some are longer, some are short. It's not. But the time of your watch is homogeneous. Every second is the same. That is the watch. But when you are with a person you love, you are with your family, you are with a friend, or you are absorbed by your work, etc., the time has no more that homogeneity. It becomes heterogeneous, different, huh? Different. Okay? And in fact, that time does not depend on the sun and the star, depend on you. Why that time is so intense for you and for another it's totally nothing? Because there is some value, something that make that time more precious, more important, more interesting than another time. Okay? But we have the other time, we call sometimes sidereal time, the time from the start. Sidereal in Latin means the star. The star, or the time of your watch, the time of the calendar, the time of the sun takes to turn around the world in one day, the earth to turn on himself and around the sun in 1 year. That is the objective, we call that objective time. It is the abstract time, abstract or objective, abstract, objective. Here it is the concrete, concrete time. The time live, subjective. Here it is objective time. And every second is exactly the same value. Same value. Tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack. I don't know if you experience that. If you are in a house with an old clock, and the clock click, tack, tick. During the night, it's special. It's a good experience. Good experience. You see. Especially if you don't sleep, you find that very long. Okay. I continue. Abstract time is the uniform. The other is not uniform at all. It is heterogeneous and non-uniform. That time is uniform. And the same, always. Bing, bang. The Big Ben in London. Okay? And it is empty. That means there is no, there is no experience live in that. It is purely objective. Tick tack, tick tack, tick tack. There is no content except tick tack. No. But the time for duration has a meaning for you. Because he has a meaning, that time is shorter or longer, depending what kind of meaning you have. But the objective time of the clock has no content except tick-tack, to indicate you that you are moving around the sun, moving on the axis of the earth at the same speed. Your clock, and you have that here in your watch. Okay. What is an experience maybe you can do if you have a retreat is do that sometimes when they have a weekend. They ask the people to give their watch. to get rid of their iPad, their watch, and they have no notion of that time. They don't know exactly, except if they can see the sun, when it's time to eat, when it's time to... Interesting. And that experience was lived by some scientists who lived many months in mines without a clock, only with the electric device, without no calendar, nothing. Why we have the experience? Because we have some marker, huh? The position of the sun. We have to indicate where is the sun, where is the day. If the sun is here, or if the sun is here or there, I can have an idea. But if I have in a cave, I have no marker, no mean of knowing where is. I have no. You know the prisoner, what they do in the dungeon in the past when they were isolated, they mark the days on the wall. Why? Because if they do not do that, they cannot know when. What is they lost completely connection with the world. And sometimes they can do nothing. They have no relation with the sun, with the moon, nothing.
Okay, those inside the cave.
Someone they kill, of course. Huh? But you know, it is very, very difficult. It is very difficult to live that experience. Or you are in the hospital. I experienced that recently. It was an emergency, and I have no watch. There was a clock, but it was difficult to read the time in that clock. And you know, at what time of the night I am? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? Yeah, it's interesting. You have no, nothing to find where you are, and what time you are, at what time. Okay. So that is the objective time. Huh? It is the time resulted from the movement of the earth, sidereal time. So it is the unchanging and independent of us. Objective does not depend on myself. I don't fix the speed of the tic-tac of the second. The seconds are there, I cannot change that. They are there. Imagine somebody is condemned to death. Huh? Every tic-tac is important. Huh? Okay? So, so the unchanging and independent of us, although we try to mind which numbers, it will not exist in us, but only in potency, in the movement of the earth. How we can have an objective time? It is because we can measure, we can reflect. I can measure the speed, the time, the position of the sun. I can measure. Because I can measure, I can have an objective time. In fact, time is related to the intellect of man. Is there a time for animals? No. Animals, they live only in duration. They have no time. You have a good, 2 facts. One, the first fact, it happened in Japan. A scientist used to go to take the train every morning, and his dog accompanied the scientist to the train every morning. A day the scientist died, but the dog continued to go to the station every morning, every night to search for his master. And the same thing happened in Italy. In Italy, a woman, she has a dog, and she has the habit to go to church with her dog every morning. She died. And the dog, from many years now, every morning he goes to Mass. I have the picture of that on my computer. He goes to Mass, he sits down, and he attends the Mass, and when the Mass is finished, he comes back home. But for the dog, there is no time. Time does not exist.
The name of the dog from Japan was Hachi. There is a movie about that.
Yeah? Huh?
Yeah.
I saw in Expo in Montreal last year, was a cultural mosaic in flower. and they dig the dog at the station, and the other, you can see that on the internet, it is on the internet. You know, for animals have no notion of time. Why? Because they are not intelligent. We have the notion of time because we are able to measure. In fact, what is time, objective time, is the time we measure. It is the measure of the motion of the star, of the sun. So our time, when I speak about the watch, it is a measure. I can measure using a watch or using many meters. In the past they use sticks, and they measure the shadow of the stick to measure, you know, mathematically. So if there was no intellect, human intellect, in fact time will be only in potency. So it's the intellect of man that transforms the motion of stars, the motion of the sun into time. That time is really a human reality, intellective reality. Okay? In fact, never we saw a dog with a watch. They don't consult the watch, only intelligent people. So the necessity of a mind to measure the movement of stars, the movement of the sun, etc., the moon. So the human intellect makes time pass from potency to act. What is the formula of time? The fact time is measured. What makes time? In fact, time first is a motion. Is the motion of the sun, apparent motion of the sun. It is the motion of the moon. It is the motion of seasons, only. But in fact, that is only the matter. The matter is the time is the motion. But the form is the measure. So the form is putting into that motion of the stars, of the sun, a new idea, a new relation we call time, measure. We measure, we divide the way the sun passed from east to west. We measure that, okay? And I mean the moon, when the sun is at its zenith, etc. So now let us go to page 139. How Aristotle depicts the nation of time. He said it is the number of the measure, the number, page 139, the number of motion. We measure motion, but our marker. The marker of the motion is the past, the before, and the after. So it is the measure of motion according to before and after. What is before? What is after? And what is between before and after? What is that? The present. The present. And when you say the present, is already the past.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You too.
Because the present is continually passing from potency to act. The present is only true all the time. We call that, in fact, philosophers call that a long fluence. Nunc in English, a noun. Fluence, flowing. Liquid. Did you try to catch water in your hand?
No.
No. Water is, you cannot. Because as soon as you catch water, the water is
Gone.
gone. So time, yes, like that, in your hand to catch, seize, you cannot.
So then you can catch air.
Yeah, the same thing. Because it is fluid. You cannot seize what is fluid. So time is a fluid now. Or not fluid. As soon as you think about time, about the present, it is already past. And that is time. I measure the motion according to what is before and after. So the unique reality, in fact, is the present. But that present is very thin.
Yeah.
Because when you want to say that is finished, you have, some arts are frustrating. Okay, you paint a beautiful landscape, you stay there, okay? But you prepare a concert, hours and hours of practice. And when you sing, as soon as the people listen, it's finished. No? Yeah? It's like time. You seize the instant. As soon as you enjoy the instant, is no more there. And the concert is finished after that is finished. I prepared many concerts when I was a chapel master, choir master, with a band also. And we prepare for hours and we play after that. People applaud, finish. Like a speech also, huh? Except a speech we can write. The music today we can put that on the computer, on the even there. Will you stop at every chord that is, oh, that chord is beautiful, stop? No. Time is the same thing. You want to grasp it, and it is appearing. That is a good thing to say that there is no pure happiness on earth. When you have an intense happy moment, that does not last. You have a celebration with your family, or you have your profession, a religious profession, or you are ordained a priest. Beautiful song, but when you go to bed at night, it's finished. Huh? Christmas, I remember when I was sad when I was at Christmas vacation, not because for me it was too short, the class was bigger. And I think time is that. Time is very important, at the same time we cannot seize it. Only God. And for God there is no time, there is only present. There is no past for God, there is no future. There is only present, and that present is not changing, that present is eternal. So eternity is an eternal instant. Always did that in philosophy of God. Huh? But to understand philosophy of God, we have to understand that it's time.
God is yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Yeah, but that is the way we think. And for God, there is no yesterday. There is no tomorrow. For us, we say, as it was in the beginning, the beginning for us. And it will be forever. It will the future for us. In fact, strictly speaking, God is, period. I am. He said, he did not say, I was, I will be. No, I am. The time for him is not a passage from potency to act, is only a pure act, and that pure act is eternal. I never experimented that. I hope a day I will be with Jesus somewhere, a good place, with you. But for the moment, it is what we can say. Okay? So, time is something of motion. Third question, is time thing as motion? No, because time is not motion. Huh? many different motion can take place in the same time. So motion can be fast or slow. So whereas time is uniform in its flow. Time is uniform. Uniform. Second question. Is time a thing completely different from motion? No, because time accompanies inevitably motion. Time is the passage from before and after. Okay? For where there is no awareness of motion of change, there is no passage of time. When you sleep, you have no idea of time. No idea of time. So for you, there is no time. Why there is no time? Because you are not aware. And because you are not aware, you cannot measure. You are unconscious. When you are unconscious, I have a friend. He has an accident, a car accident in 1955. I remember that. And he was a teacher. He was a dean of studies in the college. He lost his memory. It was the 5th of June. And the 26th of July, he recovered his memory. But between the 2nd of June and the 20th of July, there is nothing for him.
Right.
He cannot measure time because he was not aware. He was not aware of that. Okay? So time is, we saw that time is to motion, like the soul to the body. What makes motion time? It is the fact I can put my mind into the motion. I can measure the motion. My dog is in motion, but it's not in time. I am in time because I can measure the motion, the change. Okay. Secondly, a time is continuous, like quantity, continuous quantity. Traverses a continuous quantity, the continuum of time. So as motion takes place before in one part of the quantity and after, it is measured by time. Motion is continuous, and the measure of motion will be also continuous. If I measure a continuous fact, the measure is also continuous. So time is a continuous reality. We measure something that is regular, continuous. The same thing, the same thing, the same thing. Okay? A continuum is formally one, but materially made up of parts. Of course, that continuum, there are many nunc, many seconds, many minutes, many hours. But those hours, those seconds, are linked with one another. They are not separated by nothing. We can, of course, when I sleep, I have the impression time finished, but time continues to exist because time is independent of me. I can sleep, the earth continues to turn. No? Time continues to exist, but I'm not aware of that, of the time. Time requires that I am conscious. Okay? So time is a measure, you have that on page 140. The present, I already speak about that on page 141. Just at the top, the time is a number de. Number de. The number of and the number in motion. Is a number de. That means the measure. The is important. The. Okay. So only, in fact, what exists really? Only the present. The past is no more there, and the future is not yet here. Okay? And page, I will finish by that, page 142, the principle of individuation. I try to explain that in 3 minutes.
Wow.
142.
The time is limited.
Yeah. Time is limited.
The time is over.
No, not yet.
Exactly,
No,
3 minutes,
140.
more 3 minutes.
We still have it.
Okay, can you give me some, because that idea is important for the future, individuation.
We are not done.
Well, we are,
We're talking.
okay, as human beings, we have the same form. As human beings, we are rational, okay? So we have the same form. As human beings, we possess atoms similar. We are similar by our bodies, no? By the matter and my atom are the same in every. You have the same atom as I have. So matter is not determined. Instead, the matter, material body, first is not determined. Matter is undetermined. We saw that. It is a characteristic of matter to be indeterminate. We are not different by the form. We are not different by matter. How we can be different? I can say, I am an individual, you are another individual. How? Because my matter is quantified. My matter is quantified. Quantified matter. And you remember one of the properties of quantity is incompenetrability. You remember that? So I am what I am because of my quantified matter. If we call that the principle of individuation. I am an individual not because of my form, because by my form I am in the same species. We are the same by the form. We are intelligent, okay? I am not individual first by my matter, because matter is in itself a indeterminate principle. So how my matter can be my matter? It is when that matter is quantified, signated by quantity. And that, so I am different because I have my own quantified matter. You have your own quantified matter, and because that quantified matter is incompenetrable, we cannot impenetrability, we are so individual by our quantified matter, not by our form, not by our matter, but by our quantified matter. Matter determined to be what I am here and what you are. And I am different from you, not because we are intelligent, not because we share the same atoms, but we have a quantity that is different from the other. So the principle of incompenetrability, we saw before, is at the foundation of our individuation. I am an individual because my matter makes me totally different of you. In such a way that my form is informing that quantified matter. Not matter in general, that quantified matter. When God gives the soul to the first cell is a quantified matter. It's not the matter of another cell, it is the matter of that cell. You know, I am individual not by my form, because by our form we are in the same species, rational. We are not individual strictly by the matter itself, because the matter itself is indeterminate. But each one we have a quantified matter. In that quantified matter, it is what determines myself. And that is important, you know why? Because on earth, my soul is individual, because my soul informed by quantified matter. When you die, what happens? My quantified matter disappears, but my soul continues to be my soul, to be individual soul. We don't come back to the universal soul as the New Age, Pantheist New Age, no. We continue to be individual. Is the reason why we can pray to the saints. We can canonize saints. We can speak about individual after their death. They are not mixed in the big soup. Each one continue to be individual. And that is interesting, you know why? Because if my soul continues to be an individual, my soul is able to receive again a quantified matter. And that is a foundation, and not a proof, a kind of possibility to accept the dogma of resurrection. But Plato was not able to accept, because he cannot accept that the body was good, the body was bad, was an obstacle. But for us, my body on earth is what makes I am such a soul. The soul of Michel Legault is not the soul of Enrico, because we don't have the same quantified matter. We die, we continue to be the soul of Michel Legault, the soul of Enrico. We are not in the same universal soul. Because we continue to be the soul, that means the form, a form normally is with a body. So it is not against reason to accept the resurrection. On the contrary, with the teaching of Aristotle, the resurrection is very completing his theory of matter and form, the form of a new body. But the Platonicians were not able to accept that, and they refused the teaching of St. Paul. You remember that? When St. Paul, they say, oh, I have a good news. Christ died. Oh, yeah, he died. It was a good thing. He died. He resurrected. We will come back another day to speak about that. Because for them, the soul was not the soul of the body. But for us, my soul, the soul of my mother, my father, they are individual, personal soul. And the day of the resurrection, they will be person. They will not be like the New Age in the huge, the unique soul of God. No, we are continue to be. It is the reason why there is a heaven, there is a hell also, because we continue after that to keep our responsibility as a human person, as an individual. Okay. Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
The Greeks said time is money.
That's the business.